Have you ever camped in a place that felt wrong? Not dangerous, not haunted, just wrong? What if the ground beneath your tent could remember every scream it ever swallowed? Welcome to Nightmare and Fear, where true terror is never far from firelight. If you enjoy disturbing campfire horror stories like this, make sure to subscribe, because the woods are never truly empty. I wasn't planning to camp there. Honestly, I didn't even know that patch of forest existed until the GPS glitched and led me off course. But when the dirt road ended at a small, overgrown clearing and my phone lost signal, I figured, what the hell, one night won't kill me. That's what I thought. I remember setting up my tent near what looked like the remains of a fire pit. Old stones in a circle. Ash that looked far too black to be recent. But something felt off. Not bad, not dangerous. Just off. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was watching me. I made a fire. Ate some jerky. Watched the sky turn this unreal, bleeding orange between the trees. That's when I saw it. A man. Standing perfectly still at the edge of the woods. Not moving. Not blinking. Just watching the fire. I stood up and shouted, "Hey! You alright?" But he didn't answer. He just turned around, slowly, and walked straight into the woods, vanishing into the black. I didn't sleep that night. Around 2:40 a.m., I heard the first scream. Not like someone getting hurt, more like someone remembering how to scream. It was distant, echoey, the kind of sound that makes your body freeze before your mind understands why. Then another scream. Closer. Then, underneath me. I swear to God, the ground beneath my tent vibrated. Like something was trying to reach the surface. I jumped out, barefoot, flashlight shaking in my hand. There was no wind, no bugs. Not even a bird in the trees. Just silence, and that breathing under the soil. Not deep underground, just inches below. I started packing. Fast. Tent. Bag. Knife. Anything I could grab. Then I saw the faces. The trees. There were faces in the bark. Human faces. Screaming. Eyes wide open, mouth stretched in permanent terror. I dropped everything and ran, but the forest didn't move the way it should. Every direction I turned, I ended back at the same clearing. Same fire pit. Same ash. Same silence. But this time, the ground was cracked open. Not wide. Just enough to see the fingers. Human fingers. Pale, twitching, grasping. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. Trying to pull themselves up. And then, the man returned. But now, his face was gone. Just a smooth stretch of skin. No eyes. No mouth. No nose. He pointed to the fire pit. And that's when I understood. That wasn't a place to camp. It was a place to feed. The fire pit was never a fire pit. It was a mouth. And I was dessert. I don't remember escaping. I woke up in my car, 10 miles away, tires muddy, engine cold. No one believes me. They say I hallucinated. But I still have the tent, and it smells like dirt and rot. And last night, I found ash in my bed. Some campsites are left off the map for a reason. Not because they're lost, but because they remember. If you want more terrifying stories like this, subscribe to Nightmare and Fear. And never ignore a scream beneath your feet. Have you ever seen something that wasn't supposed to exist and wished you'd never looked? What if your campsite came with a hidden cabin, one that appears only when you're not looking? Welcome to Nightmare and Fear, where the forest never forgets. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, and let's dive into a story no one dares to tell twice. I camped alone because I needed the silence. After my brother's death, the house felt haunted. Not by ghosts, but by the sound of nothing. So I picked a remote spot in Oregon, deep in a forest reserve with no marked trails. The kind of place where even the park rangers don't patrol unless someone's missing. I set up my tent near a small creek, surrounded by pine and moss. First night was normal, cool wind, crackling fire, and stars above me like shattered glass. But on the second night, I saw something that wasn't there before. It was a cabin. Just sitting between the trees. It hadn't been there before, I was sure. No sound, no light, just a single wooden structure with a roof that seemed stitched together with wire and rusted nails. Its windows were black, not from glass, but from some kind of oily cloth sewn into the frames. I approached. The door was closed, but not locked. When I touched the handle, it was warm. Inside, the walls were made of wooden planks bound with wire. Like someone had torn apart furniture and stitched it into a house. There were chairs, broken beds, mirrors, all fused into the walls. But the worst part? The smell. It wasn't decay. It wasn't rot. It was like old leather soaked in blood, dry but fresh. I stepped inside. The door slammed behind me. And then, I heard it. Not a voice. A whispered stitching. Like thread pulling through thick skin. I turned. The furniture in the walls had shifted. Now the chairs had arms, and they were reaching out. I backed up into a mirror, but my reflection wasn't me. It was my brother. Eyes wide. Mouth sewn shut. Trying to scream through the stitches. I screamed for real. And from the darkness above, something dropped onto the floor. A man, or what used to be one. His mouth was stitched open, not shut. And from that torn grin came a sound I'll never forget. Like a sewing machine made of teeth. I ran. Door wouldn't open. I kicked, screamed, clawed, until my hands bled. And then, silence. No whisper. No moving walls. Just the feeling of being watched from inside my own skull. And I saw it, the back door. I took it without thinking, ran into the woods, barefoot, blind with panic. My tent was gone. My fire was out. And the creek? It ran red. I blacked out sometime after sunrise. Rescue teams found me 3 days later, 30 miles off course. They said I must have been hallucinating from exposure. But I know what I saw. And last week, my new house. A door appeared in the hallway where there wasn't one before. It's stitched shut. But the thread is fraying. Some cabins aren't built, they're assembled. Piece by piece. Body by body. Have you ever gone camping with friends, only to wake up and realize something's off? Your gear is there. The fire's still burning. But your friends, they're not the same. Welcome to Nightmare and Fear. Subscribe now, because tonight, you'll hear the story of a camp that rewrites reality while you sleep. I've gone camping dozens of times. But this was the first time I woke up wrong. There were 4 of us. Me, my girlfriend Riley, her brother Dex, and Dex's quiet, kinda creepy friend Nolan. We were heading to a remote spot known only to locals, a place called Camp Lazarus. There were no online maps, no blogs, no old posts, just a hand-drawn route given to us by a gas station clerk with too many teeth and not enough blink. He said, "You'll love Lazarus. People go there to forget." We thought he meant stress. The trail was beautiful, silent woods, thick pine, green fog drifting low like mist on a forgotten battlefield. We hiked for hours. At dusk, we reached the camp. A perfect circle of dirt, surrounded by tall trees that leaned slightly inward, like they were listening. There were no signs, no fire pits, just space. We set up tents, lit a fire, drank, told scary stories, laughed when Nolan said, "If I disappear tonight, bury me upside down." At midnight, we all crashed. And when I woke up, the world was wrong. First, it was Dex. He was cooking eggs on a rock. Except, he hated eggs. I joked about it and he smiled like someone who's rehearsed a smile in the mirror. Then Riley kissed me, but it didn't feel like her. Her lips were cold. She held the kiss too long, like she was trying to remember how to do it properly. I looked at her eyes, and that's when it hit me. They weren't Riley's. They were the same color, same shape, but the light behind them, it was empty. I laughed it off. Maybe I was tired, hungover. But then Nolan spoke. He was always quiet. But now he wouldn't shut up. He spoke fast, too fast, like he was flipping through personalities. 1 second cheerful, next second monotone. And sometimes, his voice doubled. 2 versions of the same sentence, layered on top of each other. I asked him what time it was. He said, "We haven't slept yet." But we had. That night, I tried to stay awake. But the fire, it hummed. A low, deep vibration that made my eyelids heavy. And when I woke up again, my name wasn't Adrian anymore. Riley called me Chris. Dex said, "Welcome back." And Nolan just laughed and said, "This version's taller." I looked down at my hands. They weren't mine. Different scars. Different knuckles. And the voice in my head wasn't alone. I found a journal in my tent. My handwriting, but nothing I remembered writing. It said, "Camp Lazarus doesn't kill you. It rewrites you. Each night, your soul spins the wheel. Pray it lands close to the original." I tried to run, but the trail was gone. Only trees. Tall, inward-leaning, pulsing like lungs. Dex followed me. But when I turned to face him, he had no mouth. Just skin, stretched where his lips should be, but his eyes screamed. That was 3 days ago. Or 10. Or 50. I don't know anymore. They let me record this. This version of them, they enjoy the performance. Tomorrow, I'll wake up again. Maybe I'll be Riley. Maybe I'll be you. But if you find Camp Lazarus, don't sleep. Burn everything. And for God's sake, if they call you by the wrong name, run. Because every night you rest, you roll the dice. And Camp Lazarus always wins. There are places in the woods that don't take your life, they take your identity. Don't lose yourself to the silence. What would you do if, every night at camp, the same man appeared, standing at the edge of the firelight, never moving, never blinking? And what if one night, he stepped closer? Welcome to Nightmare and Fear, the place where campfires don't keep the darkness away, they invite it in. If you're brave enough, subscribe. Because tonight's story is not about what you see, it's about what refuses to leave. I didn't believe in superstition. But that summer changed me. I was part of a conservation group, 4 of us camping in remote locations, collecting data on nocturnal wildlife in the Smoky Mountains. The camp was basic, 1 central fire, tents in a circle, no phones, no radios, just us in the forest. First 2 nights? Perfect. We heard owls, coyotes, and once, the long moaning call of something we never identified. But on the 3rd night, I saw him. He was standing just beyond the firelight. Motionless. Tall. Wearing something like an old ranger uniform, too clean, too crisp. No flashlight. No gear. Just watching. I whispered, "Guys, someone's there." They looked, saw nothing. Even when I pointed directly at him. "Dude, you're sleep-deprived," Dex said. But I knew he was there. He stayed until the fire died. And only then did he disappear, not by walking. By blinking out like a bad frame in a video. I didn't sleep. In the morning, I found boot prints, military style, deep, recent. The others laughed it off, probably a ranger passing through, they said. But I noticed something they didn't. The prints circled our camp, not randomly, in perfect rings, like he'd been walking clockwise, over and over, around us. Next night, I stayed up again. He came back. Same place, same distance, watching. But this time, when I stared at him, his head tilted, like a dog mimicking curiosity, or a predator figuring out your shape. I shouted, "Who are you?" He didn't flinch, didn't blink, didn't move. But my fire dimmed. Not the wind, not fuel. The flames were choked, as if something was sucking the heat from the air. I threw a stick toward him. It landed 5 feet short. When I looked back, he was closer. Not walking, just closer. That was when I told the others I was leaving. But none of them listened. One even said, "Why are you scared of a man who's protecting us?" That chilled me, because no one ever said he was protecting us. And I hadn't told them he was back. They were changing. On the 5th night, no one spoke. We sat around the fire in silence. No jokes, no stories, like we were waiting for something. He returned again. This time, we all saw him, and no one reacted. The fire was burning strong, but it didn't feel warm. It felt cold, like the heat had inverted. Dex leaned in and whispered to me, "If you look away, he moves." I stared, eyes watering, unblinking. One of us eventually blinked, I don't know who. But when we did, he was in the center of the circle, standing in the fire. But the fire didn't burn him. It bent around him, like he was a void. I remember Dex screaming, Riley running, but I couldn't move. He looked down at me, and for the first time, I saw his face. It was my face. Not similar. Exactly mine. But pale. Hollow. Like a version of me that had been starved of sunlight and time. He leaned in and whispered, "This is the part where you wake up, and it's still night." I woke up in daylight. Alone. No tents. No friends. No gear. Just ashes. The woods were silent. Not quiet, dead. I hiked for hours. Days maybe. Eventually found a road. Got picked up by a trucker who asked, "You coming from Lazarus Ridge?" Strange place. People say there's a man who watches the fire. I lied and said I didn't know what he meant. But every night since, when I close my eyes, I see me, standing in the fire, watching, waiting. Some things don't want to hurt you. They want to replace you. And the fire you light to keep the shadows away might be the only thing showing them where you are. Subscribe to Nightmare and Fear, and don't look away. Not even once.